Hey, what's going on, everybody? Welcome to another episode of the weekly Daily podcast. Thanks for being here. Today is Saturday, August 12th. It's an overcast day, which was a perfect day to run. I ran this morning, and first run in a while. I did Pikes Peak hike a little over a week ago, and I guess I hurt my hamstring. I did not realize until a couple days after, but apparently when you're in your mid-30s, injuries sometimes are delayed. So it was good to run. I was kind of, it wasn't as much of a run. It was more of a little scurry, I guess. I was like a little mouse on the trail. Scurry, shuffle. I couldn't think of I don't know if that's the proper word I wanted to use, but it's good to be here regardless. Felt good to catch up on some sleep last night. Got up immediately, went for a run. Did 5 miles, which was nice. Very slow pace. I think I ran at like a 10 or 10:30 pace, which is about as slow as you can go before it's no longer considered running, I think. But good to be here. Glad to be getting stuff done early in the morning. I was going to wear a different outfit. I threw on basically pajama clothes. It probably looks like if you're watching the video. I just recently went on a bit of a shopping spree on Amazon. And by spree, I mean I ordered 4 shirts and 2 pairs of pants, which is about the most clothes I've added to my wardrobe in a decade. So pretty big deal. About probably $100 total. So huge investment on my part. Hopefully they all fit. A couple of them haven't come in yet. But the pants seem to be okay. I'm excited about those. Some gray pants, some khaki pants, and some Nautica shirts. And I was going to wear them. I ended up getting, I need to get a new, I don't need to, but I probably should upgrade my wardrobe a little bit. I've said it before, most of my clothes are literally from college years. I mean, we're talking 15 years old, 10, 15 years old. I mean, that's pathetic. But I've never cared too much about my fashion. But I do just want to have kind of as lame as this sounds, just kind of a generic look. Just like some solid colored t-shirts that fit well, some pants that fit well, and just be like a normal person, you know? Present myself as a normal person on stage. But the first Nautica shirt I got it's like a turquoise, like kind of like a bright turquoise, maybe a little more green in there, a little more flare. And I put it on and I looked in the mirror and I was like, man, if this shirt had a collar on it and you put a flip phone in my hand, I mean, it's 2004. I was like, this is giving me flashbacks to my poor style in high school. But, maybe that's just what life is, cyclical. Go back to high school. I'm going to buy some Jinkos next. Just go back to middle school, buy some a Dora the Explorer backpack or Ninja Turtles. I don't know. I didn't have either of those. Dora the Explorer wasn't, I don't think, a show when I was in elementary school. But I also bought the shirts. The Nautica shirts that I got have like, I wanted to upgrade my wardrobe a little bit, but also I have this, as you can see here. I did it last time, if you're watching the video. If not, I have a wireless microphone on my shirt right now. It's sticking out very obviously. I've been doing that the last 2 episodes as backup in case this mic number 1 fails. You've got mic number 2, so it's not a totally lost episode. Hopefully I don't have to do that too much moving forward, but I've lost trust in this Zoom and just don't want to sit down for an hour and ramble and not have it, in the archives for a half dozen people to be able to listen to over the next 10 years. But with that said, some of these shirt purchases that I bought were purposely to. They have pocket protectors. One of them was like a button-up T-shirt, or like a half button-up. There's like 2 or 3 at the top. I was looking for shirts or clothing that I could hide the microphone in, because I also use this for, and the main thing I use it for is for stand-up, so recording my sets. And this just doesn't look good. I mean, this is unacceptable on stage. If I went up on stage like this is such an eyesore, and it's such a distraction that it's just like not even, you just can't do that. I don't want to do that. So, bought some shirts that had pocket protectors. If you're not familiar with that, I don't even know why they call it a protector. It's just a pocket on your breast, left breast. And I'm thinking maybe I can hide it in there, although it's still kind of bulky, so it pushes out a little bit. But, you know, I'm just trying to figure it out, one T-shirt at a time. So I got two more coming in today. I got like that green turquoise color shirt. I got a blue shirt. I got 2 more Nauticas coming in, a heather gray and a darker gray black, like a, what do you call, I don't know, whatever they are. Maybe I'll wear them next time. I was scared to wear it though, because I'm drinking coffee, like I said. I didn't want to spill it on there. That would be typical me. First shirts I buy in like a decade, and then day one, just coffee all over them. But that's been exciting. Some new purchases on the wardrobe side of things. It's been a pretty busy week. Obviously, I had vacation the week prior, and then got back to work this week. Was getting back in the rhythm of that. It was a pretty busy week as far as comedy goes, somewhat. I mean, not the busiest, but it did a handful of shows. Did that show last week that I talked about on the podcast, one that I'm producing. I think I recorded the podcast before I did it, and I said I'd talk through how it went. So let's talk through how it went. First new produced show in, probably almost a year. I mean, if you eliminate, I've done plenty of, produced shows on the road, but that's kind of like a one and done thing. I'm trying to build up a room in Denver that is just fun and a good show, and something that can make a little bit of money, and something that comics like to do, something that I enjoy to do. So you're probably wondering, how was it? How was it, Ben? Was it fun? Did it make money? Well, I'll tell you what. I lost $250, so it did not make money. But that's okay. I mentioned that to a handful of people, and honestly, I genuinely wanted to figure out, and I think I got a lot of good input, and I've already got another show on the calendar, so I plan on doing it again. But I wanted to use it as an opportunity, kind of a trial and error opportunity, to see how can I get butts in seats. And there's a couple things I did, and a couple things I'll probably change, but I put a bunch of money into advertising. I think I put $275 into social media ads, which is double, if not more, than what I've ever put into ads. So obviously that's where a lot of the money went. I provided, part of like the marketing was free beer. So, hey, get your ticket, come hang out, get some free beer. And I think that, that obviously added $80, $100 to the total. Had a DJ, had a comic friend who came and DJ'd, which I think is something that I'll continue. Just an extra element of fun, helps fill the dead space. I mean, it's in a community center, so it's not like in a brewery where they like have music going anyways, or people can kind of like yuck it up. Honestly, if you don't have music in a space like this, it probably would be like very strange. So ultimately got, I think 41 or 2 maybe people. And this space I think can hold close to 100. So that's I'm excited about the potential of this space because if it maxed out at like 40 people and I'm putting all this money into everything that I just mentioned, ads, alcohol, things like that, then it's like I'm never going to make money. Best case scenario is maybe I break even, and even that is going to be difficult. Because, you got to pay comics. Like, you're trying to make a good room, pay comics well, get butts in seat, and make money. I mean, it's a lot of things that add up to make it difficult to kind of check off all of those boxes. But if I can sell closer to 100, somewhere in between 40 and 100, even if it's like 60 or 70, that's honestly probably about where my break-even point would have been for the first show. But I think the second show I'm gonna change it from $10 to $15. So hopefully I can get a little bit more money there. I started ads a little early. I think I'll definitely change that to put a bunch of money into ads that start 4 days before the event. Because in the city, people just don't buy stuff too far in advance. So it's kind of a waste of money. So there are some things that I'll change, but it's a kind of auditorium type vibe. There's a little stage. I think it can turn into a fun event, and I want to try to do that. And I'm okay losing a little bit of money. I don't want to lose, $250 is not nothing, but that is why I save a bunch of money, why I'm frugal. I want to pursue this as a career, as a job. So investing and sometimes losing money like that is just part of the game, and I understand that, and that's totally fine. So we'll see how this next one goes. I have it set up in October. I'm pretty busy this month and next month, so I wasn't able to schedule anything before October. But I will, hopefully, if it goes well, get it on a monthly schedule. So we'll see. We'll have to see how things go, but I'm excited for that. It was a fun first show. 40 people, they came and laughed. I mean, it wasn't the best show ever, but it was a solid show. It was a decent show. And I'm going to try to put some money into that and see if I can figure it out. So I'll keep you updated. Like I said, next one's October, so it'll be a minute before we have one come down the pipeline again. But excited for a new show on the schedule. Also have a new show tomorrow, which Sunday, August 13th, which will have already happened by the time this podcast comes out. But that is also in the Washington Park area. I don't know if I mentioned, but the one I was just talking about, Washington Park area. The one tomorrow is in the Washington Park area as well at a restaurant spot called Blackbird. It's got like a little side room that holds like 40 people. So again, to my point with the previous location, if the previous location maxed out at 40 people, I don't think it would ever be a possibility to have it make sense. But this place at 40 people, we'll have to see. We'll see. I think, I'm definitely putting less in ads. I think I threw 100 in, which is still a lot. And we'll see. We'll find out tomorrow. I'll keep you updated next week on how it goes. But definitely want to find a couple rooms that are monthly shows that are solid to get back into the hosting mindset. I mean, I've said it before. I don't want to, quote unquote, make it in comedy as a producer. Zero interest in that. But I do want to get better at hosting, and giving yourself stage time and opportunities consistently, a couple times a month, allows you to try different things on stage, work stuff out, have an actual crowd. I do want to figure out how to make a solid, consistent show in Denver, because that's in the bigger cities, it's tough. Once you get out in the suburbs and stuff, there's less entertainment, there's less stuff going on, so it can be easier to get people out. But in the city, There's a lot of entertainment. So it's like, how can I make people choose my show over a million other fun options? But those are the two produced shows that are kind of recent. I did a couple open mics over the week. Did a Don't Tell on Thursday. Did a storytelling show last night in Loveland. Those were fun. Those were, storytelling shows are, I think that's the first storytelling show I've done. And it was interesting. There was probably 10 or 12 people in the crowd. So, not huge, but they were all engaged. They were all watching. And it's interesting because as much as you kind of go into it and you're like, this is basically stand up, you're just telling it in a longer form. It's very different. Like, there weren't a lot of laughs, but everybody was watching. And part of me was wondering if just kind of the psychology of going into a show that's quote unquote storytelling versus going in being like, this is a stand-up show. If people, maybe they're just like not expecting laughs or not wanting laughs. They're just genuinely like, I want to hear the story, which is fine as well. But it's funny coming from the stand-up background where your brain is like, am I bombing right now? Or do they hate me? They're not laughing. They're not giving me an indication. I need to know, which is so funny. I mean, that is literally what stand-up is. The crowd lets you know. And, every time you say a punchline, and if it doesn't work, everybody knows. You get that immediate input. But you don't get, in other things, maybe whether it's storytelling, maybe public speaking in a lot of senses. Like if you're a motivational speaker or a teacher giving a lecture or whatever, like in your mind, you could be like, I'm killing it. And the students could be like, this person could not be more boring, or vice versa. You could be giving a lecture and be like, I'm bombing. And then afterwards, maybe people come up and only at that point do you know if, maybe they come up and they're like, that was so engaging and great and thank you for, and then you're like, oh, but with stand-up, it's immediate. Occasionally, there are scenarios where it's a little more confusing than others. There's definitely been crowds that I've had, and a million people as well, where you have crowds or settings where people are smiling and they're engaged, but they're not really laughing. So you think you're kind of bombing. And then afterwards they come up and they're like, that was great. And just sometimes people aren't big laughers, but they still enjoyed it internally. But for the most part, you know right away. You go, I'm killing, or I'm bombing, or I'm just getting a little bit here and there. And that's, what it is sometimes as well. But, yeah, the storytelling show was fun. I told kind of the only story that I've been able to figure out about the first party I went to in high school that got busted by the cops. And I've whittled that down to like a 3-minute story. But I tried to just really say all the details and everything and make it 10 minutes. And yeah, it's interesting telling it. I mean, as much as you think, you're like, yeah, I'll just tell the story. Like, in order to keep people really engaged, you have to be very fluid with the story. And if you kind of backtrack or, there's a lot of elements that make it seem like if you see somebody who's good at it, it seems easy. But there's a lot more. It's a lot more difficult than it seems. So I've said it before. I definitely want to work on more stories and get better at storytelling in the stand-up setting. I'm not trying to just go up there and ramble with no jokes. But it's hard, little by little. You gotta chip away at it. But those were exciting. I have been trying to work through some new jokes. And, I feel good. I go through periods with writing where, and I feel like I'm in this period right now, where I very much feel in touch and in sync with writing out bits, with structure, with, okay, here's a setup, here's a punchline, here's a tag, here's a tag, here's a tag, next paragraph, setup, punch, tag, like, because sometimes you write and it's like, I mean, I don't even, a lot of times it's when you take too much time off, like if you haven't written in a couple weeks or something like that, then you go down to write down and it just feels kind of like journaling. You're just like putting just your thoughts on paper, but none of it is funny and it's not in a structure at all. So I feel like it feels good. It feels like I'm writing with structure. And I feel like some of this stuff is funny for sure. I think it's decent. But when it comes to writing jokes, a lot of stuff is, they're jokes that are fine. And by fine, I mean, sure, people laugh at most of it, most of the times, but they're just like, they're just middle of the road laughs. And obviously as a comic, if you're striving to be as good as possible, what you want is to try to have every joke have the biggest laughs. So, I mean, I've said it before and it's obvious, but that's why it's important to write a ton of stuff, because at the end of the day, even if it has the structure of setup and punch, a lot of stuff is just going to be like, okay, or not great. So if you write a bunch of stuff, maybe 10% of those jokes or punchlines do have that extra pop that you're looking for. So, I don't know. I haven't tried out a lot of the jokes a couple of the jokes that I'm working on, I've tried, and there's I think a nugget of potential in there. I'm trying to write some jokes about going on vacation with my family last week and just kind of the events that happened there. I think I have a couple funny things. I haven't tried it out yet, but I've been writing and editing and trying to kind of get it memorized in my brain before I take it to stage. So we'll see how that goes. But I've also been working on a couple other jokes, and it just seems like a C joke. If you're familiar with kind of like an A joke being your best jokes, B jokes being like pretty good, C jokes being kind of like, ones you definitely want to replace, but you're like, it has the structure, but it's just a kind of a whatever joke. I feel like that. I tried to add together some older bits that I had. Like I have this bit about running that does pretty well. I'd say it's a pretty decent joke. It's hasn't been doing as well as it did, I feel like, initially, which is kind of frustrating. But I've tried to put that together with a joke about just similar topics: exercising, working out from home. I have a little joke about pre-workout supplements, and then cramming that all together to make like a 5-minute chunk. And I really whittled down a lot of stuff to get like kind of the filler stuff out. But even now with it whittled down, it's like, I don't know. It's a 5-minute chunk that I think I could do, or I probably should only do, if someone's like, I need you to do 45 minutes. And I'm like, okay, well, I just got to do like a bunch of the jokes to fill the time that maybe aren't the best, but they have structure and they're okay. So that one I worked on last week, and it was, I was excited about the potential, but with a little bit of feedback, I think it's probably one that I can kind of put to the side and then maybe look at it a little bit later, see if I can make adjustments to make it better. But not getting as good of a reaction as I was hoping for initially. But another joke I've been working on, a joke about space, I'm very excited about. And it's done okay, but I know the parts, like I know where I need to make some changes, and I feel like I have enough nuggets in there to be like, okay, I think I can make this pretty good. Just about space and space travel, and me being excited about space travel. I mean, the ending of the joke, which I don't know. There's a bunch of stuff that I've tried to cram in there, so I might take a bunch of the stuff out. But trying to make a joke about the concept of like me being excited for space travel, and like the only downside of it is that when I travel, I get digestive issues. And like the thought of like if I take a flight to just whatever random city in America and like that makes me constipated, like what would flying to a different solar system do to my body? It would probably be not good. I mean, it's just a part of the joke. There's some other stuff in there. So we'll see. I'm still working through that. And then so I got a handful of things I got to work through. Excited about it. I just got to keep writing, got to write more because I've been doing a lot of editing and a lot of like looking at old stuff and putting it together, which is still writing. I'm still editing and adding and subtracting and doing a bunch of work, but just the pen to paper, I need to get better at being in the routine of doing that every day, which, everybody always says that, write every day, write every day, write every day. I try to. I feel like I write a lot, but you can always write more. So I gotta be true to that. That was one of my goals that I don't think I've kept up with well this year. I was writing for an hour a day, 4 times a week, and at points I certainly have done that. But I've started new jobs and I've been on the road a decent amount, and just a lot of variables that are excuses. Doesn't mean I can't do it, but have just made it more difficult to keep up with that goal. But we'll keep at it. Maybe the more I talk about it on here, if you guys want to keep me accountable, the 5 of you listening, keep me accountable. Send me a message. Be like, have you written today? And I'll be like, give me 20 minutes, and then I'll respond. But, other than the comedy stuff, not a lot going on. I'm trying to think of just like day-to-day stuff that I've been up to, and I've said it before. I'm right beside the pool here, and I'll be honest, the pool this summer, because last summer it was chaos. I work from home, and it's just a lot of screaming and yelling this year, and I think it's probably due to the first part of the summer, a lot of storms, and still have been some storms, but it's been totally fine. I mean, people are still using it, but not as much chaos and yelling and screaming. And at this point, August 12th, schools start pretty early. So there's not even that much. I think schools might be starting like next week. So there's not even much more time for kids to be swimming during the day, at least. But I said it before how I felt last summer a little bit when people are just yelling and screaming and they're 8 feet away from my window, just feeling like the older I get, like I'm a grandpa on a porch, just mad at everything passing by, which is, I'm being a little bit hyperbolic. I feel pretty chill in a lot of ways, but also feel that biological old man anger boiling up in me a little bit. I felt it a week or two ago when I was on family vacation down in Colorado Springs. We were at this splash pad, and it was a splash pad and like playground. It was like a big park, and we were on the playground at one point, and the playground, there's like a, I don't know even what you even call it, jungle gym, whatever the big main thing that has slides and catwalks and just the whole, whatever that's called, just the playground in general. And it's a bunch of little kids running around on this thing. And then there was like this 12-year-old who came up. He kept getting up on it with his hoverboard. I think that's what they're called. If you guys aren't familiar, it's like the little thing that you balance your feet on, and if you lean forward a little bit, it moves. It's kind of like there's a million different versions of it, but it's kind of like a Segway without the thing that you hold on to, like, but much smaller, obviously, the wheels. You've probably seen a bunch of videos of people falling on them. I mean, they look pretty dangerous if you're not super coordinated. But he kept taking that on the jungle gym. And now these catwalks that go all around, I mean, they're like 5 feet wide. So he's trying to go on his hoverboard through here and just taking up all the space. And he's like 12. All the kids on there playing are like 5 and under. And I watched, because my nephews were playing on there, so I was kind of just in the area, just making sure they're not falling off it. And I watch as he goes through and just clogs up all these spaces with like little kids and multiple parents. The kids are so young, parents are roaming around with them. And I watch multiple parents kind of try to ask kindly, kind of like, hey, you shouldn't be on here with your thing. And he just ignored them. And I started getting this rage in me where I was like, I'm going to go full principal and be like, you're not allowed on the playground anymore. I didn't. I thought twice about it and figured, you know what? A kid who's not listening to other parents, if I go, that's the thing with kids. If you're like, hey, I'm an adult, you can't do this anymore. Like, if the kid just goes, well, I'm gonna, you can't, as a stranger, what are you gonna, unless you're willing to go to jail for, like, grabbing a kid's arm and taking them, but it's like, I'm not gonna do that. So then you just look foolish. You get angry and you go, you can't do this. And if they're just like, well, I'm gonna, it's like, I don't want to put myself in a position where I get schooled and owned by a 12-year-old. That is the weird thing with kids, because they can just, you can't do anything. And by the way, that's fine. A stranger shouldn't be grabbing a kid's arm and taking them off. But, sometimes that you see a kid misbehaving and hey, somebody needs to tell this kid what's up. But as an individual who doesn't have kids myself, that's a pretty weird, that's weird. I don't know. It's any situation like that where you find yourself, for me specifically, but I think most people in general, when you find yourself like getting that upset about something, it's probably best to look at yourself and go, well, let me take myself out of this situation. Or like, why does it matter? Honestly, most of it in that situation was seeing this guy ignore the other people. And the fact that he was kind of like, he's 12, he's on this electric thing that's moving at speeds. And then I have like my 3-year-old nephew running around. And it's like, genuinely, if you run into him, like, you could legitimately hurt a kid. So it's a little bit different than like, getting angry at people in the pool where it's like, there's no danger. I'm just like annoyed. But for the most part, I just try to remove myself from those situations. And that's a big thing people talk about with comedy. People get bitter. You're out there all the time and years and years and years, and then you're just not getting what you want, and other people are getting stuff, and it's easy to get angry. But we all go through that. But same with that. I try to just remove myself from that. Like if you're just on social media all the time and you're looking at all these other people who are getting stuff, sure, it can be easy to be like, oh, why am I not getting that? Why are they get blah, blah, blah. But it's like, I just try to stay off social media, as much as I can, I still use it some, but, if it's not in your face all the time, then it's like, I'm not thinking about it. And then I have more time to think about me. What am I doing with comedy? Focus on that, writing, setting up shows, things like that. And then it becomes a lot easier to not be bitter. And then when people get things, genuinely, be happy for them. See people get on festivals or get opportunities to feature on the road, headline on the road, whatever it is. to just be like, wow, dude, that's awesome. You've been working hard. Good for you. Rather than, seeing and be like, oh, good for you, man. I'm so happy for you. But I am feeling good. I feel like the last month or two of podcasts has been a lot of talk about health and my diet and this and that. But I truly do feel much better, much better, much more stable with the diet. I will say the exercise, because of the hamstring kind of from hiking, I didn't exercise much for a couple weeks. When I was in Tulsa on the road, didn't get a chance to do much because I was busy with work and festival activities. And then a week in Colorado Springs, I hiked. I did like one big day, and I think I ran another day, but the other 4 days were no exercise. And then when I tried to run when I got back this week, I realized that my hamstring was messed up. So today was the first run in a while, and I realized diet, very important, super important, but exercise also very important, and being in a routine of running and being able to just not be stagnant. Yeah. The more stagnant I am physically, the more stagnant I feel mentally. And then, that just reflects on stage. I felt fine on stage, but I've noticed like the combination of all those I need to be doing to be my best self. And so, very much want to be careful with my hamstring, but also get moving. Even if the hamstring is an issue, which I don't think it will be, I need to figure out, okay, what do I just go walk for an hour or two a day? Do something. I got to figure it out. Can't make excuses and go, well, until I can run, I can't do anything. No, you gotta do something. Caribou coffee. That's what I got today. This morning, I ordered it on Amazon, actually. Light roast. Yeah, I've asked this before. You guys like Caribou? What brand do you guys like? Genuinely, leave a comment. I got Peter. Thank you for the comment. Peter left a comment, my brother-in-law, last episode. No other comments other than that. Comments and questions. I've said it before. I don't know how else. I don't know if my Instagram is like not a good thing to reach out to. I should probably set up an email, but I just haven't yet. But feel free to leave a comment. Honestly, leave a comment on YouTube. That's the easiest way to do it, because I think a comment or a question. People, I think with Instagram with Instagram, like a direct message, maybe that's like a little more, not intimidating, but like maybe people are like, I'll say something, but I don't want him to respond. You just kind of want to put the question out there. But YouTube, I think, is an easier format, maybe a less personal. I don't know if people are worried about that. But on YouTube, if you have a question or a thought or comment, feel free to leave a comment there. And I will talk about it. I'll try to talk, as long as it's not horrible. Don't say anything horrible. Okay, be cool about it. But, wow, today, this episode has been mostly comedy. And a lot of times I'll ramble on some stuff. I guess I rambled a little bit about the playground. But, I try to think about, in the earlier podcasts I did, like half of the podcast, if not more, would be me talking about stories in my past. And I was trying to think through different stuff that I could talk about. And I guess I could talk about, the only thing that came to mind was stories of when I worked as a leasing consultant, which I think I've already talked about, but maybe I'll go through one or two of those. That was a very interesting position. And it was when I worked in Washington, D.C. area. It's in Fairfax, the suburbs of D.C. But 2015 to 2017, I lived up there. I worked at a quote unquote luxury apartment complex. And a lot of stories from there, a lot of wild, I mean, and look, I don't know. I don't know if enough people listen to this to know and be able to comment and let me know if I've talked about this, but I'm pretty sure I've talked about this before. But either way, I'm going to talk about it again. A lot of weird situations. A couple of the main weirdest things there. So first off, it was luxury apartment. Luxury. And I remember when I first started working there, I was like, this is going to be easy. You know, people who make money, they're not going to make problems. Wrong. There are dummies everywhere, dude. Doesn't matter how much money you make. I mean, there are morons on every economic scale. Like rich people dumb, poor people dumb, middle of the road people dumb. There are idiots everywhere. I mean, we had to wear a suit. I had to wear a suit every day to work. And then I just go in and be like, I'm in a suit. And I'm like, people are calling about the dumbest stuff. And they're making, there were a lot of good people too. Don't get me wrong. But a couple of the weirdest stories was someone almost set the apartment on fire like my first week. It was just an old dude who like everybody had to evacuate. I remember walking up the stairs with my coworker to try to see what was going on as people were evacuating. And then we just like go into this old guy's apartment and he like left soup on the stove. Just forgot about it. I was like, wow, dude. You almost took down this apartment complex with some tomato basil. That's pretty baller. Pretty bold move. But my second week, and I've talked about this before. How many times can I say I've talked about this before? Too many. Clip it. Count it. But someone brought in a box full of dog poop and slammed it on my desk. And long story short, she was like yelling at me. She was blaming me for giving her the box of dog poop, which makes no sense. I was like, why would I give you a box of dog? That would be the craziest thing ever. Just be like, I just started this job and I'm about to make a splash. Okay. I'm about to make everybody know my name because I put poop in front of your apartment. But apparently she had a beef with a neighbor. This is what I'm pretty sure happened. I don't know. She tried to deny stuff, but I'm pretty sure she had a dog, didn't pick up after it in the common area, and a neighbor collected all the dog poop, put it in a box, put it in front of her apartment to make a point. And she was like, I feel threatened. You need to do something about this. And I was like, I will certainly keep an eye out for people who, are out there collecting poop in like an inappropriate way. And she was like, you need to call the police. And I was like, well, if you feel threatened, you call the police. I can't call the police on your behalf of feeling, I could, but I don't want to. So she did call the police. And then they showed up and she just showed them a box of poop. And I'm pretty sure, I don't know for certain, but I imagine they just laughed at her and left. So that was a very wild, interesting story that happened there. I also had, right before I left there, I had someone call. I mean, I think it was like my last week. I'd put in my notice. I was getting ready to move abroad. And I put in, I was during my 2-week notice and a resident called and he goes, hey, there's a guy in the common space. Because it was like a luxury apartment. They had, like a business center and like a community room and gym and all this other stuff. But like you had to have a key fob to get in. I mean, you had to have a key fob to get into the building, but also a key fob to get into these common areas as well. And so this guy called and he goes, hey, there's a guy in here. He must not live here. He's asking people to let him in to the common area. And I didn't let him in. So you need to come get him out. So I walk up there and it's like a teenager. And he's in this comment space. And I'm like, hey, man, do you live here? And he was like, I'm visiting my friend. I was like, okay, is your friend here? He's like, no, he's not. He's coming a little bit later. I was like, okay, well, you can't be in here unless your friend's here. I was like, who's your friend? Where does he live? And he's like, my friend's name is E. That's like the oldest. That's hilarious. My friend's name is E. You're like, E? What apartment does he live? And he's just like up, he's just like points. It was so obvious that he didn't live there. But it was also one of those things where it's like, this guy has snuck into an apartment building. He snuck into the first, like, he was in the community room, but every room that branched off of like the kind of main community room, you had to continue using your key fob. So he was in one, but he wasn't able to get through to the next. And so the fact that he was already in there and trying to be like, it was a pretty bold move. And so I'm like, dude, I don't get paid much. I'm not trying to get beat up by a teenager. I didn't get beat up. He ultimately left. But it was one of those where you're like, man, you just got to deal with a bunch of stuff. There used to be kids who would like skateboard in the parking garage. And I remember when I used to skateboard as a teenager. And I remember as a kid thinking, because you always see videos of like people losing their minds, security guards, parents just losing it about kids, skateboarding, maybe doing some stuff wrong, but like also just like, hey guys, please don't do that. And I always thought, oh dude, if I get older, I'll be cool about it. Like even if I have to tell them to stop. And then I had to ultimately tell the kids to stop. And, you go, oh, like, I'll be able to relate. I used to skate. Be like, hey, guys, I used to skate. No. I get why people freak out. Because you go up. You try to be cool. You go, hey, guys, like, look, you just can't be in here. I've been told to tell you can't be in here. And then they're just like, yeah, who are you, dude? Get out of here. And then you're like, okay, well, I've actually been told by a superior that I need to tell them to stop, and now they're telling me no. And I can't go back to my superior and be like, some 12-year-olds told me no. It's like, no, you got to deal with it. So then you're like, okay, I tried to be like a normal person about it, but apparently 13-year-olds aren't rational. Who would have thought, So then you're like, hey, you got to get out of here. You got to go. And then you're just like, I'm a grown adult and I feel so not like an adult. It's always nice being humbled as an adult. When you're like, wow, I'm still a child. I don't know why someone would ever give me a key to a business, but I did not handle that well. But you know what? That's where I'm going to end it, guys. Let me know. Genuinely, leave a comment on YouTube. Go to the YouTube video if you're listening to the audio. Leave a comment, question. Let's get this engagement going. Let's get this in the algorithm. Let's get up to 20 viewers an episode. We can do it. I believe in us. Thank you for listening. Also, genuinely, let me know, was this interesting? I know I talked about a lot of comedy in this episode. Again, I've asked it before. I'll ask it again. Are you okay with me talking about a lot of comedy? Do you want to hear there's always going to be some comedy, so I'll tell you that. But do you want more random stories? Do you want certain topics? Any thoughts on what I should talk about and how this podcast format would be best for the viewer? Let me know. Genuinely. I want to hear good, bad, indifferent. Leave a comment on YouTube. But again, thank you guys for listening. Thanks for tuning in this week. Appreciate you guys, and I will see you guys again next week.